Airial, if I could marry her brain, it would be amazing.
If you need anything technical.
She is down to earth. She's fun. She's very easy to network with.
Anything systems oriented.
Just anything web dev techie that I don't understand, Airial has swooped in and fixed. And she's my accountability bulldog.
She is a queen.
Anything infrastructure related.
She is helpful, and she helps guide and answer all your questions that you have about growing your business and networking and getting started.
She gives me life. I mean, she just gives me life.
Airial Reynal is your girl. Welcome to the TrepTECH Podcast with your host, Airial Reynal.
I just want to marry her brain. She's a genius.
What is up, and welcome to another episode of the TrepTECH Podcast.
It do?
It do everything this week, it do. Man, I have had an insane week. How about you, Airial?
I've had a very busy week because I've been working on my newest program that I'm so excited about, but we can talk about that later.
And we will. Trust me, we will. I even dig the name. Can you give us the name?
Emerge.
Ah! Which I did because, I get the whole, in my mind, it's just like someone emerging out of a birthday cake. It may or may not be a stripper. But whole, arms open, boom, here I am world. Like an emergence. Yeah. That's what I kind of picture. So I really love that you went with that name because, when you look at the mechanics of it, that is what it is. So, but yeah, we can definitely get into the details of that. So it's nice to see that you're focused, head down, getting a shitload done. I have done the same, all client sales, nonstop this week. And I did something that you'd be proud of.
What's that?
I started using my reminders on my iPhone. So what I've been doing is I've been sitting down the night before and I've been making my to-do list. And just making 5 to 7 things. I'll put 5 to 7 things that I want to get done. And I'll just date them all as urgent for the next day or whatever. And every day I wake up, they all pop up just as I'm handing Scotland over to her mom.
So you're on to the iPhone now. We have moved on to Trello, but we can talk about that later.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying is I'm not someone who ever plans.
I know, baby steps.
And as a result, I'm not someone who's ever I guess focused isn't my strongest point. I can do a lot, but it's always somewhat unfocused because I've always got so much on the go. So just by taking a week and blocking it all out into 7 steps a day, I have gotten more done by Wednesday this week than I've gotten done 3 weeks other months that I've had. It's crazy.
Planning is important. And for those who don't like to plan per se, at least make a to-do list and check stuff off. At least start there. And the phone is actually a good thing, a good place to do it. I do that in mine as well, my notepad, because I know I always have my phone on me. So any ideas I come up with, any to-do things, any links, all kinds of stuff are in my notepad.
Yeah, and for me, I'm proud of myself, I guess, because I planned something and it actually worked. But now I'm a little bit worried about will this develop into a habit or will I just go back to being all scatterbrained next week?
Ooh. So
we shall see.
It really depends on you.
Yeah. Actually, it depends on my will to live, because if planning gets to the point where I'm oh, I can't do this, I'm not going to. I know myself. So I have a strange question for you that kind of coming out of the blue. And since you're launching a new program, I don't mean to scare you, but I think this is a super important question because you're on the verge of something big. And I think a lot of people get to this point and then they ask themselves a key question and shut themselves down in a minute.
What's the question?
Don't you think the market's oversaturated with what you're about to do?
No.
You're just no.
No, because all of this time for the past, 5 years that I've been bullshitting, I finally have nailed what makes me different. So the things that I used to be worried about, I'm like, this is what makes me different. Let me capitalize on this. And so, no, it's not oversaturated because I do stuff that's totally different than other people do. I'm filling those gaps that a lot of coaches don't, feel, because you end up having to get like 4 or 5 different coaches, a mindset coach, a business coach, entrepreneurship coach, a branding coach, a podcast coach, a life coach,
Tech
but with
person, a website person.
yeah, but with the copywriter, but with the merge, you get all of that. Oh my God.
Yeah, well, that's exciting. And I'm glad that
Plus, hold on.
Oh, shit.
Plus on the job training. So after the year of us together, then we help you launch your business and kind of like an incubator, and you get commission actually doing stuff and all it's okay.
Okay.
We're not supposed to talk about it right now.
We will definitely dissect Emerge on a future episode. We will pull back the curtain and you can explain in like painstaking detail how this thing works, because I'm going to want to hear every bit of it anyway.
And you're a part of it too, right?
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, I press ganged you into Podcast Bay. It was only a matter of time before you returned the favor and Volin told me that I'd be doing this. I knew the day was coming. I didn't realize it'd be so soon. I thought you'd have another 5 years of bullshitting at least. But
this is it. This is it. I'm telling you, this is it. I'm so freaking excited.
I can tell, because when you called me and told me about it, I was like, shit, okay, no, this is perfect, because this is doing the exact opposite of every single coach out there right now, because every single coach is saying left and doing right, and you're saying left and doing left. And I love that. But the thing about the oversaturation, and the reason why I ask, is because it's probably the first thing I hear about from a podcast standpoint all the time. Well, isn't somebody else doing this? 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 And it gets on my fucking nerves. Because and the reason why it does is because like people will like literally have an idea, and it could be $1 million idea. And that saturation thing, if they can't come up with an answer for it, it shuts them down completely, and they'll never pursue that $1 million idea.
True.
When truth be told, it could just come down to flavor. Do you taste the way someone else enjoys? Like, is your style, is your way of communicating, is your thought process and mentality, is your delivery just what that other person's craving? Like, I think about it as food. You ever stand there in your kitchen and you want to eat something and it's not in the house, but you don't fucking know what it is?
Yeah.
And then the second you figure it out, it's like, boom, yes, that's what I needed. Well, that's the way people are with your programs. They're out there in the kitchen that is the internet, looking through the Facebook cupboard, looking through the Instagram cupboard, opening the LinkedIn fridge, opening the Twitter freezer, and they cannot find what it is they're looking for until they stumble upon the person or thing that is exactly what they needed and exactly how it was. And then bam, they're hook, line, and sinker into it.
Yeah, because your personality, your uniqueness, your quirks, the things that get on people's nerves, the things that piss you off, all of that helps you distinguish yourself from everybody else. So capitalize on it, embrace it.
Yeah. And I mean, like, to put it into perspective, when I first got into business, I think I told you about this, Airial. Like, I was the coolest kid in the classroom. Like, I walked in and I was like, come from a music background, tattooed, foul language, mohawk at the time. And I was looking around and I was like, all of these people are stuffy white collar pen salesmen. What the fuck? Like, why aren't my people here? Where are all my old drug slinging friends that went legitimate? Like, where did they go? Right? Why aren't they here? And it turned out they went out and got jobs. They didn't start businesses. And so I was like lost, man. And I was like, why can't I be myself? Why does no one look like me, sound like me, act like me out there? Why are they all so bland and the human equivalent of cardboard,
Yeah.
Like, so vanilla. That's the only way I can explain it. Like, so vanilla that it doesn't even taste vanilla. It just tastes plain. It tastes like the color white looks.
You are on a roll today with these metaphors and analogies and similes and everything.
Yeah. And so like I was struggling really hard. And then all of a sudden, just one day, someone who knew I was a little different and had heard my lamentations about how stuffy and boring the business community is introduced me to this guy named Dan Meredith.
Mm-hmm.
Dan's like this burly, British, mouthy fucker who had a big beard and muscles, and he would literally tell people like, listen here, you're being a melt. You're not stepping up, you towering cockwomble. You're lazy. You're being a God-given... literally the words, you're being a waste of God-given talent right now. And all you have to do is put one foot in front of the other every day and show up, and you would be rich. You know, and he would say things like that to people. And all of a sudden, I had found my unicorn. I was like, holy shit, this man is my people.
Yep.
And I followed this man like he was the North Star for, I want to say, nothing short of 2.5 years. And I learned so much from him that all these vanilla guys were still saying. They just weren't speaking in my language. Their flavor, like, okay, if they were the cardboard equivalent, Dan Meredith was like a surf and turf platter. Like he was the full meal, right? He was the flavor I was looking for. He was the style I was looking for. He was what I needed to hear and see, and he was very tangible. So I jumped in and I followed him, right? Even though they were all communicating the same shit.
Right. But he was communicating it in a different way, a way that you could understand.
Yeah, exactly. And it's one of those things where like it could come down to taste. Some people like hip hop, some people don't. Some people like ice cream, some people don't, and those people should be shot. Some people like there's just, it's so like it comes down to taste, and why shouldn't your program be any different?
Exactly. But you know what? That's a whole mindset thing, and overcoming limiting beliefs and self-sabotage. I mean, it's a lot that goes into that. And a lot of us as entrepreneurs, we go through that process of finding who we really are. And then once we do, oh my God, it's amazing.
And I think a part of it too is like being able to know your audience well enough, or at least know your product well enough, I guess, and know yourself well enough if you are the product, to be able to zone in on the benefit and how specifically it can help that person, if that makes any sense. And a lot of people, like, they don't necessarily know how to make themselves stand out in a saturated market. Even if the customers are coming straight to them, they can't zone in on that one thing that that person's going to want that'll make them hire them. So like for me this morning, I was on a sales call and the guy said, I just need a magical little fairy who will take my recordings and deliver me a complete podcast at the end of the day.
That's you.
I was like, I am that fairy. Like that's me. And, you know, because his benefit was time and just not wanting to touch it. And I was able to articulate that benefit. That is what we do. That's exactly what we do. You know, and he was thrilled with it. But if he was like a stuffy individual who didn't like swearing and who didn't like, we wouldn't be working together, no matter how much I could save him, you know, because I wouldn't be his flavor, if that makes sense.
And you wouldn't have had fun working with him either if he was that way.
True story. True story.
Because I know we can think, oh, I don't want to, you know, push anybody off because I'm cursing or this way or that way. Man, when I started swearing, it's like everything opened up. And I don't even swear that much, but it's liberating because I don't have to worry about how am I going to say this, whatever. If I'm pissed off, you're going to know I'm fucking pissed off.
That's just it. And it's funny because for me, there's a big difference in like, do I look like I care, or versus do I look like I give a fuck?
Right?
They communicate different things, and they very much represent a different level of seriousness, I think, you know, but some people might disagree. But anyway, like, I'm so stoked that you had this saturation thing nailed down right away. And the reason why is because I was talking to a friend of mine, right? Mm-hmm. And like, okay, we've talked about weed a few times on the show. People know that, you know, I do enjoy my weed. And it is,
oh gosh.
And it is legal. Yeah, okay, we're getting into it. Yeah. And it is legal here in Canada. Okay. So this man used to be my drug dealer. Okay. I'm just going to put that out there. This man used to sell me pot.
And they're entrepreneurs.
Oh, absolutely. Of the upteenth degree. Like, I don't care. They bulk product buy and they sell high. Okay. Like, they know how to do this. And so, like, we were chatting and we were talking about the saturation thing because he was asking me, like, aren't there like podcast producers a dime a dozen? Because like I had a call the other day where a woman called me and she already had everything figured out to the point where she could do my job. And I told her that. I was like, you don't need me, you are me. Like, you should be doing what I'm doing for a living right now. And she was like, okay. And she took it and ran with it. And so my former drug dealer, he said, like, aren't you afraid of competition? Like, you're saturating your own market if you're training people how to do what you do. And I said, I'm not training her. She can go off and figure it out. But I gave her the idea. I said, if she does, great. I have a healthy competitor. If she doesn't, whatever. I was like, but ultimately, like, people are going to come to me because they want me, not because they want a producer.
Right.
And then he started like going on about how competitive the weed market is in our small town. And he was talking about like how there's a lot of crap floating around and how all these new dealers who are coming in, and when they do have good quality stuff, they sell it for almost nothing because of all the crap floating around that can sell for almost nothing. And he was like, I have like the caviar of weed. I have like the gold seal of weed. He's like, this is, if weed were an ingredient in food, only the finest chefs would use this weed. You know, I started to laugh and I was like, really? And he's like, no, but I'm saying. And he was like, you see, it's how you position it. He's like, then people who only want the best of the best will come buy my weed. And he was just, as he was going on, man, I was laughing, like, because this is stuff that we teach, right? About positioning and branding and having a certain image and having a certain feel about you, and, you know, not accepting certain kinds of business. Like, he doesn't accept low ballers. His price is his price. So as he's going, like, he's like, and you know what? He's like, all weed is great weed to somebody. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah. So check this is the part that made me lose my shit the most. He was like, so I had this weed that didn't really get people all that high. He's like, you know, you smoked it and you felt like a tingle. He's like, it made your nose tingle a little bit and like you felt it. It was there. He's like, but it really didn't get you super high. He's like, so I started marketing it as like the safe for work weed. He's like,
oh my gosh.
He's like, you could smoke it before your shift, go into work and still be perfectly high functioning. He's like, so that started selling. He's like, but then I had this like really awful weed. He's like, it was just, he's like, it'd been sitting there forever. It didn't get you giggly. It didn't make you hungry. It didn't make you like creative. It didn't make you like anything. He's like, it just made you fucking tired. He's like, so you go out and you buy like a bunch of this, and the only thing you have to show for your money is that you're tired at the end of it. And so I was like, well, that's garbage. And he's like, you'd think so. He's like, I started marketing it as a nighttime strain. And he's like, it's my highest selling weed now.
Oh my goodness.
So he literally took this weed that was like garbage quality, didn't do anything, and he started selling it as a sleep aid. He called it the nighttime strain, and everyone keeps texting him, I guess, like, hey man, do you have any more of that nighttime stuff? Like, you know. Yeah. So like he took something that like literally would make the average stoner angry. And he zoned in on a benefit and found the people who would appreciate that benefit. And so anytime someone said like, oh, I was up all night, he'd be like, I've got this stuff that'll knock you clean out.
Nice.
Right. And this is like, again, the same garbage weed that everyone else is selling for nothing. He's selling for double the price because it's now a sleep aid.
Positioning.
And he can't keep it in stock. Like, and so that, like, I was super, super inspired by that. When I heard that, I started looking over all my programs going like, what are the benefits? How do I make sure that I'm, you know, within the price point that I want to be? How do I attract these people? What can I fluff up a little bit? What can I change the perspective on? How can I, and I just started like going deep on how to properly describe what I do and communicate it to people while still being myself. Because at the end of the day, he's still a pot dealer. not everyone's going to do business with them, right?
Hey, and that's okay, because you don't want to do business with everyone. We've talked about that many times.
Yeah. So like it made me laugh because like he is in a saturated market and he is killing it just because he has the ability to think outside the box like that and sell the same product with a different description and cash in hard on it. So like for any of my hustler friends out there, take some notes. And for any of my business friends out there, stop giggling about the weed part and read between the lines.
Exactly. Because there's a lot. Oh my goodness. I could pick apart that whole story and apply it to regular business, I guess we could say. But like you said, positioning, knowing your audience, knowing who buys from you, knowing what they need, being confident that you can serve a certain audience with that differentiator, the benefits, even though, you can always say, here are the cons, but what are the pros? And just switching up that language. And then, like you said, it's best kept secret now.
Mm-hmm. And for those of you who never went to business college and you're scared that that's holding you back and the fact that you haven't been to school makes you less competitive, that man's never been to school. And I bet you anything, like I think that guy dropped out of school, to be honest with you, like high school. And if he did graduate, I know he didn't go on to business college, but the ideals that he was communicating to me are high level marketing ideals.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a man who I think just about any marketer or advertiser would want on their team to describe their products to their audience. And, like he never went to school. So don't let that hold you back either.
Exactly. Real world. It's real world knowledge and on the job training.
No kidding. So yeah, I don't know. With you going into a merge like this and coming out with like the business incubator and stuff like that, like this is not new. This is all stuff that's been tried, B, been tested, C, been held to be true. But there are quite a few people doing this kind of thing, which is why I wanted to ask you, does the saturation factor scare you?
But they're not doing it like we are. I'm not going to just say me, like we are. And that's another exciting thing about it. It's a whole team effort. And I don't think you'll find a program as comprehensive where, yes, some people have the business incubator, but they don't have the training modules like Emerge does, the one-on-one coaching, the group coaching. I mean, there's like so much. And I've looked at the price that I'm selling it for, and I'm like, we're going to need to bump this up.
Well, yeah.
I got a little carried away, but I mean, absolutely excited about it.
I'm going to drop a little bit of a nugget here is that like you're basically running what's called the beta. I call it the beater. And it's like, it's the program you run before you officially run the program, if that makes sense. Like you get in, you get your people at the price where you initially thought it was worth. And then you put yourself through hell and back, realizing that, oh my God, this is so much work. And then you put it at the price it's really supposed to be for round 2.
Yeah. I mean, because me and Rolanda has the business launch prep school.
Which I love, by the way.
And then the launch in 90, that was the whole thing, was finding what we wanted to sell as our core signature program and launching it together. So me and Rolanda, I have Emerge, she has the business launch prep school. So I'm telling it all. So people who sign up for Emerge will get the business launch prep school as a bonus and go through that to validate their business idea and everything and set that foundation. Because Rolanda is amazing coach. And so again, like you said, with competition and stuff, you don't have to worry about it. Find your distinguisher. So she's an amazing coach. So I let her do the coaching part and then, build that foundation for people and get them clear and focused. And then when they come into Emerge, I can step into more of a consultant mentor, situation. And then with the 4 of us, me, you, Lori, and Rolanda, oh my gosh, that coaching there, and you get different perspectives. You get different levels, different experiences. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
I'm excited, man. I think we should get off the mics ASAP and jump into talking about Emerge on the next episode. because we're clearly ready to map it all out. But I think the biggest lesson that we should be drawn from this is that, like, you should not be worried about saturation. You should be more worried about, is your product viable? Does the market want it? And then just go after it. Like, you know.
Yeah.
All right. And so with that, we are going to jump off the mics until next week, where we are going to probably tell you all about Emerge.
Yay!
So that's it for me. Airial, you done?
I'm done. Peace out, everybody. Thanks for listening. As always, make sure to rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play. Where else are we located? Everywhere.
Stitcher. Go check out the
website, YouTube. Make sure you're following us. Let us know what you feel about the podcast, any feedback, what you'd like to hear us talk about, and just your experiences. Once again, thank you. Airial and Scott, we're out.
Thank you for tuning in to the TrepTECH podcast. But if you like what you heard, go on to Apple Podcast and bring her a 5-star review. And also, if you want to check out her service while she transforms mindsets, navigating entrepreneurship, leveraging technology, building relationships while bridging the gap in your business, check out TrepTECHAcademy.com. That's TrepTECHAcademy.com.